The name is Bob. Sub Bob. I'm excited to show this to you. Maybe you can guess what's in the case. I'm going to take the next little bit. We're going to walk through what's in there, show you how it works, and of course, show you some footage of it in the pool. Of course, if you're going to bring a craft like this to the pond, you need to have a way to transport it and store it. And to that end, we've got a hard-sided case with custom foam inserts. And there she is. I'm going to remove this foam insert. And now you can see Wet Nellie, the James Bond submarine car from The Spy Who Loved Me. Okay, a bit of background for those of you unfamiliar with this particular car. This is the Lotus Esprit that James Bond drove in a 1977 James Bond classic, The Spy Who Loved Me. And of course, he got chased into the water, and thanks to Q's innovation, it transformed into a submarine where he could outrun the bad guys trying to chase him down. This car had the nickname Wet Nelly, which was actually the name for an autogyro from an earlier James Bond film. So this was affectionately named Wet Nelly. What we have here is a scale model put out by the Nautilus Dry Docks. You can actually get this in two forms. You can download the STL files and print this out for yourself if you have access to a 3D printer. Or if you don't, we also offer a full resin kit that you can just purchase and get and assemble into what you see before you. So this is, as of the time of making this video, my personal James Bond Wet Nelly. I built this for myself just to simply see if it could be done, and yes, absolutely it can. So this is a high-strength resin kit. All of the props and everything are actually included in the kit. And it's engineered for operation. All the rudders and, all of the shaft holes and everything are all pre-done for you. So it makes assembly really easy. Now, I took things a little bit further. As you'll see in a moment, I've rigged it up with fully functional LED lights. It's going to make it just a little bit more dynamic in the water. Let's take a moment, open it up, and I'll show you the guts of the boat. So as of right now, the top is held down magnetically. As it turns out, this vehicle is so fast, however, that the hydrodynamic forces on the hull can actually separate the upper hull from the lower hull. So I'll have to rethink that a little bit, maybe add some more magnets to make it even more positively locked down. But now you can see the guts of the boat. All right, let's walk through things front to back. Let's start at the front. We've got some amber LEDs rigged up for the running lights in the front of the vehicle. And then we go into a power distribution bar. So these are a pair of brass bars that power not only the lights, but the 4 independent brushless electronic speed controllers. And each one of those plugs into the port there. And you can see them. They're all completely waterproof and live in the wet portion of the boat. Then we get to the watertight compartment here, and this is based off of the excellent watertight enclosures put out by a company called S3, and I believe this is a 2000 series in terms of the size. 2 latches, and you get all full access to the interior. Boat's powered by this gigantic 6.6 amp hour lithium polymer battery pack, 3S 11.1 volts. And then the only other things that we've got in here are the 2 independent dive plane servos and the rudder servo. Up in the lid, you can see the 900 megahertz receiver and the two 900 megahertz antennas. Now, ideally, these antennas would be oriented at 90 degrees to each other, but just the shape and size of the door didn't mean that that was going to be an easy thing to do. Has not proved to be an issue in the slightest. Going to the back there, we can see the rudder output. Well, maybe you can. It's on the bottom with a bellows seal, and that runs out the back to the rudder assembly. And then we've got 4 brushless motors in here. And they, of course, run to the back. And we've got a quad rudder assembly. All of these are rigged up for operation. And you can see that connection bar in the bottom there. And then the secret sauce that I determined was necessary are these clear acrylic ductors or fins that go onto the rudders. And this directs the thrust upward, which drops the tail of the boat. During testing, we saw that this craft tends to go straight nose down almost immediately when you apply throttle. So these were necessary to counteract that tendency, and it works absolutely amazing, as you will see here shortly. Control of the boat is handled through my my personal FrSky X20S tandem radio. You can see I've got my model set up there, the Bond Lotus. And control is super simple. Basically, you've just got throttle on this stick, rudders, and dive planes. And the other thing that I've got set up on this, all handled through the software in the boat, or in the transmitter here, is differential throttle. So if you just use this stick here, only the rudders will move to yaw the boat left and right. But if you really need to turn around in an enclosed area, this stick, horizontal, actually controls the differential throttles. So if we look in the back here, these two are connected together and spin in the same direction. These are connected together and spin in the same direction. So what will happen when you use that differential, these motors, for example, may direct thrust rear, these forward. So it'll actually be able to spin about its own axis underneath the water. Exceptional maneuverability and a ton of fun to mess around with. To power up the boat, just simply plug it in. Because access is so easy, I didn't find the need to incorporate a remote switch.
VFR low warning.
That's a good sound. And we're just going to tuck these wires in to make sure they don't get pinched in the seal of the waterproof door there. It's much easier to do if you have 2 hands, by the way. And now this is completely buttoned up, sealed, and ready to go in the water. The other thing that I didn't mention, this is a test port right here. It just stays coiled up unless you want to test the watertight integrity of the box. And that should be done before every run. Just submerge the lower hull without the top on, blow into this hose after you remove the little stopper there. It'll pressure up the watertight enclosure, and if there are any leaks, you'll see the bubbles. And you can address them before you put it in the water. So now that it's plugged in, you can see these amber running lights in the front and the running lights in the back of the car as well. And then looking at this, we've got our rudder control and our dive planes. And I want you to notice how these are configured. The forward planes go down, the aft go up, and that creates a very strong pitching moment for the boat. So this is very, very agile model. Originally, we were going to rig this up and did have the software all set up to have it so that the boat would bank into the turns. But what we found out in practical application, because of the way the linkages are set up, it doesn't actually do that. So rather than it banking around like the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, it will actually just be like any other submarine and move in a horizontal plane. And then taking a look at the motors here, we've got our throttle forward and backward. And just note the directions, they were counter spinning. Now if I use that differential, they all spin in the same direction, which imparts that spinning moment for the boat. Flotation is achieved with this one integral part. It just goes on top of the case just like that, and then a rubber band goes over these little catches and locks that foam down in place. And the reason for that is because I did not want any force lifting the upper hull off, because it's just held down magnetically. So I don't want any undue forces tending that top to release itself from the lower hull. That would be obviously not a good thing. Once this is all secured down and in place, the top just drops right down and it's ready to go. Again, just another really cool shot of those LED lights working. This would look really cool running around the pool at night. So let's talk a little bit about the performance of this craft in the water. It is quick. For the most part, I operated at about 1/3, or maybe if I'm feeling adventurous, up to 1/2 throttle. But it is an absolute rocket. And it does do some really cool things in terms of banking in and out, kind of on its own. So it keeps you on your toes. That differential thrust really makes maneuverability superb. You can get in and out of almost any situation. This is a perfect pool craft. And just because it is so utterly unique, it will turn heads anywhere you go, be it a swimming pool event or at, a pond or lakeside event. Because of the white color, it's also going to be exceptionally visible underneath the water, which is going to make it that much more fun to operate. The rudders themselves actually turn the boat fairly well. They're not set up with a massive amount of throw. Because it's so fast, we just wanted to make sure that we didn't overcome or overwhelm the craft with too much throw on those rudders. Because they're oriented directly behind the props, they've actually got a tremendous amount of authority, even with the lower amount of throw. Well, there you go, everyone. This was an overview of James Bond's White Lotus from The Spy Who Loved Me, James Bond movie from 1977. Kit is available on the Nautilus dry docks. You can get it in STL format or the physical one. Hopefully this build will inspire yours. If you like what you saw here, please do like and subscribe. It helps us out here at the dry docks a lot. If you've got questions or comments, drop them down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. You can email me anytime, Bob@Nautilus Dry Docks, for a faster response as well. With that, I am going to let you go. On behalf of myself, Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy with the Nautilus Dry Docks, you have a great day, and we will catch you next time.